Good morning, students. So, in the last class, I discussed on types of inheritance. Is it right? So, what are the types of inheritance we discussed? So, we discussed on the single inheritance. Is it right? So, we discussed on single inheritance. We discussed on multiple inheritance. We discussed on multi-level inheritance. Is it right? So then we discussed even on the concept called as hierarchical inheritance. We discussed on hybrid inheritance. Okay. So we'll move on in today's class for the concept called as relationship between the classes. So usually what are the two classes it will be having? One is the base class, another one is the derived class. So one is a base class, another one is derived class. So there should be a relationship between these two classes. So always you assume that the objects will be created for the base class and the derived classes. So assume now D2 class will be having the object called as dog. So dog is the object called as for the D2 class. And for this dog 2, we'll make it as dog 1 as a D1 object, dog 2 as a D2 object here. So it has to be accessed from the common base class. So there will be a confusion or illusion for the compiler which has to be accessed. So one base class will be created for accessing the objects from the base class. Is it right? So to overcome that, there is a one class called as virtual class. Okay, what is that means? When two or more objects are derived from the common base class, we can prevent the multiple copies of the base class being present in the objects derived from those objects by deriving the base class as a virtual class. Okay, so see here now you are having a base class. This is a D1 and D2 as a two derived classes. Assume that B1 is an object which is created for this D1 object. B2 is an object which is created for the D2 base class. Derived class. Now there are two objects which is created for this common base class. So it has to be erased. So it is no required now. It is not a required now. So one object will be considered as a virtual. So this process is called as virtual base class. Okay. So one object will be considered as a virtual base class. So that the keyword is called as virtual. Understood? Virtual. So this is a relationship between base class and derived class. Okay. So next we'll move on to the abstract classes. So abstract class is a class which is used to just act as a base class. Okay, so see here I'll show with a pictorial representation. So you are having a base class and here you are having a D1 class and D2 class. So here base class will be, so base class will have a objects and derived class will have a object. So now it has to access the objects. Okay, so it will be not knowing how to design the program, design the objects, just it will act as a base class itself. Base class will be created but it will not be acting. Okay, just it will be present, just it acts as a base class, that's it. No implementation details will not be given. So that is abstract class. Okay, abstract class is a class, it is used to create the objects and designed only to act as a base class. Implementation details will not be there in the abstract classes. Okay, so this is the abstract class. Next is constructors in the derived class. So constructors in C++ is a special method that is automatically called when an object is created. Okay, for example, I'll call one method called as apple. So see, always a method should be ended with a semicolon and always it should act as a function. So here it is a constructor in C++. Okay. So it creates an object. Okay. It is a method. Whenever it is called, okay, whenever it is called, it will create an object to the class. So this is a constructor, you should know. So then you should know destructor. As a name itself, it indicates destroying something. So objects which is there, which is created during the constructor, whenever its job is ended, it has to be destroyed, right? So at that time we call this function destructor. Okay. So destroying means, destroying what means? You are deallocating the memory which is actually required for the program. Okay, so how it is mentioned means, in the program it is mentioned with a tilde symbol. Okay, so I'll show now. For a apple class, I'll take apple as a constructor. Okay, so now it will be a tilde symbol. So this is called as a destructor. So always a destructor name will be preceded with this symbol. So this is tilde symbol. So next is, there is some programs which will be discussed in the classes. Okay. So these are the topics you should know in the inheritance chapter. Okay. So what are the main key points you should remember is definition of inheritance. You should know the types of inheritance. You should know what is a base class and subclass. Before that, you should know constructors definition and destructors definition. 100% you should be okay with this concepts. So if you are having any doubts, please call me or Vinay sir. Thank you.